Mr. Speaker, will you call the House back to order, sir?
The House will come to order. Mr. Morelli.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before we begin, we have a great group of young people at the back of the chambers who are observing our proceedings today. They are about 30 students and 6 adult chaperones who are with the Liberty Partnerships program. This is the 12th Annual Empire Promise Youth Summit, and they have students participating from middle school 6th graders up through senior year of high school. Their focus over the weekend while they're here, or the last couple of days into today, is college and career readiness. And we obviously are very excited to have them in the chambers, and they're going to get to witness at least part of one of the most important things we do, which is putting together a state budget. So we're delighted they're here. They're a fine-looking group of young people, and we're very excited to have them in the chambers. If you please extend the cordialities of the House.
Certainly. On behalf of Mr. Morelli, the Speaker, and all the members, we welcome you here to the New York State Assembly, the People's House. We extend to you the privileges of the floor. We commend you on the work that you're doing now to improve both your academic life and your life in the future. We hope that you will be steadfast in that, and that all of you will make it through to the colleges of your choice. We particularly are proud of the Liberty Partnership program in this state, and equally proud of you for participating. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Morelli.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, it should go without saying how much I appreciate everyone's patience and indulgence as we work through these important bills that we have in front of us. Members will note that there is both an A and B calendar on the desk. I now move to advance the A and B calendars.
On Mr. Morelli's motion, the A and B calendars are advanced. Mr. Murray.
Yes, sir. And if we could move right into page 4 of the A calendar and take up Rules Report number 30.
Clerk will read.
Assembly number 9006C, Rules Report number 30, Budget Bill, and Act to amend the Education Law.
On a motion by Mr. Farrell, the Senate bill is before the House. The Senate bill is advanced. Governor's message is at the desk. Clerk will read.
I hereby certify to an immediate vote Andrew M. Cuomo, Governor.
Mr. Ra.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the bill?
On the bill, sir.
So here we are, I guess about 10 hours from where we left here. And as I left here last night and speaking with different colleagues and watching some of the proceedings in the other house this morning, there seems to be a theme here that we just want to say, well, you know, it is what it is. It's not ideal that we're doing these late night sessions, that we're barely having time to read bills, but it is what it is. It's how things are done. Well, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. We talked about rules changes here last week. 2 weeks ago, we talked about Sunshine Week. Yet, here we are doing the same old thing, basically making sure the public, our constituents, do not have the opportunity to weigh in on policies that are going to affect their everyday lives, that are going to affect our municipalities, our school districts, and our families. So really, I think that we need to, at some point, as a House, say, we're not going to participate in this charade anymore. We can either, and when the negotiations come forward, and we understand we're in the minority. I have no trouble counting. I understand, you know, maybe we're not going to get included in the negotiations, but I think we either need to accept that our budget deadline is April 1st and negotiate up to that 3-day point and allow the bills to age and allow there to be input and an opportunity for us to read them, for our staffs to read them and evaluate them, or we have to accept that maybe we need to take a couple extra days, and the world would not end if we didn't have the budget completely passed by this weekend. There are many different ways we could do to go about that. So just in the interest of transparency and good government, and also as a reminder that for the benefit of both the members and the staffs who are working so hard, many of whom who haven't been home in days, and we sent people out into the darkness early this morning to drive home tired, with the potential for tragic circumstances to happen if somebody were to, drive off the road. I'm moving on this bill pursuant to Rule 2, Section 4, Subsection 5, to postpone this vote until Monday, April 4th, so that we have the opportunity for this bill to age for 3 days, for us to fully evaluate it, for us to discuss it with our constituents, and really have the opportunity to make an educated vote. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Rah. On Mr. Rah's motion, the clerk will record the vote. Are there any other votes? Announce the results.
Ayes 40, noes 80.
The motion is defeated. Mr. Palmisano.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Will Mr. Farrell yield for some questions, please?
Mr. Farrell, will you yield? Mr. Farrell yields. Mr. Palmisano.
Danny, I'd like to start first on the, I see that in this budget bill we have the DOT capital plan and the MTA capital plan. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the approximate amount, I guess, for the DOT capital plan is about $25.1 billion, and the MTA capital plan is right around $26 billion. Is that about close?
No. It's $27 billion for DOT and $28 billion for the MTA.
Okay. I think that $27 billion comes from the fact that the thruway, about $2 billion for funding for the thruway authority is included in that number, and historically that's never been included in the DOT capital plan. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
All right, thank you. Having a hard time because we've been going through the briefing on this bill and then, of course, the capital bill, so I know the capital bill is coming up. But one question I did want to, and we talked about this last night, when the governor and the mayor announced the MTA capital plan agreement last October, there was language that they agreed to that they would not divert any funds from the MTA budget to be used for other purposes. It would have to be dedicated to the MTA. Does this bill, is it here, does that ensure that they're not going to divert those funds away from the MTA capital anymore?
Yes.
It does.
Yes.
Does the DOT capital plan have similar language that says we're not going to divert any funds from the taxes, fees, and assessments, the nearly $5 billion that come in every year? Does the DOT capital plan offer the same protection for those taxes, fees, and assessments, so it's not going to be diverted from the capital fund and can't be used for other expenses like DOT snow and ice removal or Department of Motor Vehicles? Does that have that same guarantee as the MTA plan?
Yes.
It does. Where does it? Never mind.
Because it's appropriated.
It's appropriated.
Yes.
All right. Anyway, I beg to differ. Anyway, let's go to the capital plan a little bit, because I don't see it in here, and there's different reports. I've talked to some of my colleagues in the chamber who said that there was an increase here, and I also see reports from the Senate. And I know the CHIPS portion of the budget is in the capital plan, but I wasn't sure where the language is because the governor had proposed a Pave New York and a Bridge New York program, but I don't see, our staff didn't find, I don't see any language where it talks about a Bridge New York or a Pave New York program. Can you identify, is it in this budget or is it a different budget, and how is that money delineated?
The legislature directed the executives pave New York program through the Consolidated Highway Improvement Program, CHIP formula, increasing total CHIP funding over the 4 years, $400 million.
Where is that in this bill? Is that in the capital bill? Where exactly is that?
It's in the capital bill.
It's in the capital bill. So when we look at the capital bill and we talk about that bill later, we'll be able to look in there and you'll be able to identify where in the bill it says $100 million a year for 4 years going through the CHIPS formula to our municipalities. Specifically.
Yes, and you'll have an MOU
So
with-
an MOU for,
DOT.
okay. So the CHIPS portion, the Pave New York, that's all part of the capital plan. So we can go back to that a little later then. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. The minimum wage. What does, just to understand some of the challenges with the minimum wage, obviously this has probably been one of the most major issues of contention during this budget negotiation. Just so I understand, or my colleagues, and for the people watching at home who were up and maybe didn't see part of the debate at 4 o'clock in the morning last night, or this morning, with some of the concerns being raised for our farmers. Does this budget bill do anything to protect our agricultural industry and on the farmer here with relative to the minimum wage?
No, in this bill, no. There's nothing in. We did it last night. We did it last night.
Is there any exemptions for under the minimum wage for the number of employees you have? So if you're a small business that has 10 employees, is there any protections for a small business that is providing for a minimum wage? Is there any protections for them?
We did it in New York City for 10 employees or less, and we did that last night also.
What about for a seasonal business? I have a seasonal business in my district that employs about 35 people, but they're big during the summer.
Yeah.
And they hire a lot of kids from like 18 to 21. They come in, it gives them a part-time job, gives them time to work. Does it provide any assistance for that individual to alleviate as far as a wage differential? There's no wage differential so for that type of business, right?
No.
No. Mr. Farrell, when we were talking last night about the agricultural side of this minimum wage increase, we talked a little bit, and again, that was at 4 o'clock in the morning, when we talked about farm labor costs. And are you aware of the projections that Farm Credit East did in the report that said what the increase in the minimum wage would do to their farm labor costs?
No, I haven't.
The farm labor costs, according to Farm Credit East, would increase the labor costs for our agriculture industry by anywhere from $387 to $622 million by 2021. Do you accept that?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. Well, Farm Credit East has done a study saying that it's going to increase their farm labor costs by anywhere from $387 to $622 million. Are you aware right now what the total labor costs in New York are as a percentage of net cash farm income?
Do that again.
Are you aware what the total labor costs in New York are right now, currently, as a percentage of net cash farm income?
No, we don't have that.
63%. You know how that compares to the U.S. average right now?
No.
The U.S. average as a percentage of net cash farm income is 36%. So already New York, for farm labor, is almost double what it is for the U.S. average, based on those statistics.
Yes.
So, and net cash income is basically the amount of money families have to pay their living expenses, repay debt, invest in new equipment, buildings, and livestock. So we're looking at a 50% increase in their labor costs, and that's going to reduce their net farm income by 31.8%. We talked about the price of milk last night, or we talked about our grape growers, because the governor talks about how they're trying to help the wine and grape industry. How are we supposed to? What am I supposed to say to my dairy farmer or my grape grower in my district when their farm labor costs are already higher than the national average, twice the national average, and yet now we're going to propose this a massive minimum wage increase with no protection? What am I supposed to say to them? How are they supposed to survive?
No, first thing, I think you overdo it when you say massive. It's not massive. A matter of fact, we realize what we said, and so for those reasons, we are not making the farmer have the exact thing that is like the person in New York City. So we are taking and worrying about what's going to happen. And when you're talking to them, you should find out how many people do they have that come under the cap problem. In other words, I know farmers are nice people, and they probably do a good job of paying. And what we've said, and I said last night over and over, is that we found that more people, that the farmers, more of them don't have problems in terms of the amount because they're already over the $9 and $10 numbers. So they're not in that much trouble.
Well,
I mean, they're in trouble, but not because of that.
I guess we could differentiate on what the use of the word massive, but I guess when I look at the existing labor costs as a percentage of farm income, which is already 2 times the national average, and then we're proposing to increase their labor costs anywhere from $380 million to $620 million. That's a 40% increase. If it's not massive, isn't it significant?
Yeah, if those numbers are correct. We should have that debate 2 years from now, and we can check it and see how it is.
Well, I'm sure what you'll see 2 years from now is you're going to see a continued decline of the family farms in this state, because according to that report also, I don't know if you're aware, right now they say there's about anywhere from 1,300 to 2,000 profitable farms right now that once this proposal goes into place, those farms will go from profitable to a loss. We talked about last night where the price of milk, and it was around $17 per hundredweight, and now is already under $14 per hundredweight. A dairy farmer explained to us right now that based on the $1,700 per weight, when we had a meeting with these guys a few weeks ago, they said for one cow, they lose $3.50 a day. So if you have 100 cows, you're losing $3,500 a day, every day for the whole year. That's that's a significant amount of money. They can't increase their price of milk. That price of milk, the grapes are controlled. So what are we supposed to do when they're losing that much money every day over the course of the year? The only thing they have to do is the equity in their property. And what do? They have to borrow and borrow. So they're not, you saw from the net cash flow income, I mean, right now the net cash farm income is just, it's already eating away. And we've already seen a decline of the family farms. And now those farmers provide food to our constituents wherever they're upstate New York or in the city or Long Island. What are we supposed to do? The agriculture community is supposed to be the #1 industry in our state. It is the #1 industry in our state. What do we say to these family farmers?
Well, what we say to them is, as we did 2 years ago, and we helped you when there was problems, because before any of this happened, farmers have been having trouble, part of it having to do with how the milk is determined,
Right.
the price and everything, that we had nothing to do with. and they have been in trouble for a long time. And we decided then to help them by giving them property tax cut of 20%, which helped a little bit. And we will continue to work to help them. And this program, we don't think the numbers you're saying are as strong or as much as you're saying. I mean, you can take numbers and put them together, but when it's all over, I would have to see the chart of how badly are they doing before this goes on, and then how badly it is afterwards. And we will be watching it because, as we said, we did this. This is not the $15. This ends at $12.50, and we're making sure that if there is a problem as much as badly as you say, we may have to come around and come out with some other way of helping to make sure it doesn't happen.
All right.
But we are, I mean, because I don't want to be the big bad wolf not allowing the farmers to have their time. I think we've been working, as you have, to make sure we can do everything to keep them functioning, because I enjoy their milk, you know. So it's important.
Danny, what about our not-for-profits? Is there any assistance for our not-for-profits that are that dependent on Medicaid reimbursement? Because I'll give you an example. I met with one not-for-profit when this was going on. Their annual budget is $7 million a year. Provide critical services to the disabled in my community. They said this budget would increase their annual budget by $1.5 million. We'll take it back a little bit because it's going to $12.50, but still, significant increase in your annual budget. Heavily dependent on Medicaid. Does your budget, does this agreed upon budget between the majorities and the governor, do anything to provide any assistance to our not-for-profits?
The budget provides $35 million to support labor costs related to the first year of minimum wage increase for programs of services that are funded by the state, including home care and personal care workers of about $24.4 million, direct care workers $7.5 million, and other service providers of about $3.8 million.
So you said $35 million?
No, I didn't. I said 3.8 and 24.4 million.
3.8 and 24.4.
Yeah, no, let me do it over again just to make sure. Home care and personal care workers with 24.4 million. The direct care workers with 7.5 million, and other service providers 3.8 million.
Just to put that in perspective, the estimate we had from our not-for-profit industry that just the first year alone of the minimum wage increase on them would be about a $135 million hit. So that, even though you're claiming, and I know you have your numbers and we have ours, and I'd probably question some of your numbers because if that's discretionary funding or if that's built into the actual formula through a Medicaid reimbursement, do they have to apply for it? I mean, if it's not in the Medicaid reimbursement, that can be challenging. Same thing with our hospitals and nursing homes. Anything in the formula to provide any assistance for our hospitals and nursing homes?
Well, they're part of the other service providers, the 3.8.
I'm about to run out of time, Denny, so I'll be back with you in a little bit.
I
okay?
knew I could outlast you.
I know you can't wait, huh? Thank you.
No, you get another shot.
Mr.
Tomorrow.
Goodell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the sponsor yield?
Mr. Farrell yields, Mr. Goodell.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. I had some questions on the paid family leave, and I was hoping you could help out in clarifying it.
Just 1 second. Let me get my book. See if you find mine. Yes. What's your question?
It's my understanding that paid family leave includes the ability of someone to take off up to 12 weeks when it's fully implemented of paid family leave to care for a foster child. Is that correct?
Yes.
In many of our counties, our departments of social services have a foster care program where they put kids in temporary foster care, and they're paid. I mean, the foster parents are paid by our departments of social services. So am I correct then that under this bill, if the Department of Social Services places a foster child with foster parents. Those foster parents could each take 12 weeks of paid leave in addition to being paid for caring for that child.
Yes.
I see that we define serious health condition as including care at a residential health care facility.
Yes.
That would include, of course, a nursing home where 24/7 care is provided.
Yes.
Is there any obligation under this bill that a person who's taking 12 weeks of paid family leave actually has to visit their loved one who's in the nursing home during that 12-week period?
I don't know the answer to that, but I would assume so.
I didn't see anything.
I'm sorry?
I didn't see any language.
Yeah, there's no requirement. They just have to ask to take it for a reason to take care of that person. And even if it's just to go in to talk to them, I would assume they would do it. Because they have to say why they want to be out when they make the request.
Well, the language was a little bit of a conundrum because it says you have to certify that you're a primary caregiver, but obviously if the person that you're referring to is in 24/7 nursing care, they're the primary caregivers.
Yeah. Well, you know, the Department of Financial Services are going to be the people that have set this up because we put money out there last night for that $10 million, which is going to help them set it up. And I think these questions you're asking will get answered as they go through the proposal, as they set up the proposal.
I would hope so. I see that the bill is very clear that if you take the 12 weeks of paid family leave, you must be reinstated in your former position or a comparable position upon your return.
Yes.
What happens if the employer is going through a downsizing or a layoff during that time period? Are the only ones that are entitled to be guaranteed a position those who take 12 weeks off?
That's an interesting concept. If a person went out, yes, they would be protected. But once they came back and they got back into normal cycle, then what he would do, or she would do, or the boss would do, they would probably then decide to drop people. And as long as the pattern was not everybody who takes it gets fired, then I think it will continue. If not, that'll be one of the things they'll have to put language for.
The reason I ask is more than a hypothetical question. Of course, we have great concerns that the dramatic increase in minimum wage will result in a lot of job losses. And in fact, there are studies showing that thousands and thousands of people may lose their job. Typically, when an employer goes through a layoff, they often will do it based on seniority.
Yeah.
When they do it on seniority, the older members, who may not be having any children because of their age, are the last to be laid off, and the younger members who may be having children are usually the first to be laid off because of seniority. So it seems to me that this violates that concept. In other words, you could have a staff member who's out on paternity leave, who's a younger employee, would normally be laid off under the normal seniority rules, but this says must be hired back, which means you're now going to lay off a more senior member.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but when they do those plans that you're talking about, when they're turning back, you'll probably find that they plan it months in advance. They don't just wake up one morning and say tomorrow, you know what, I'm going to fire 15 people. There'll be a program going as to how it does. So I think you can still accomplish what this bill does, and the boss can still make a decision as to what they want to do after they come back.
Well, that's a very interesting observation because the federal WARN statute requires 60 days notice, but the family leave only requires 30.
Yeah.
So if an employer is facing a major layoff, they give the 60-day notice, and all the employees who want to be guaranteed a job take paid family leave, and they have 30 days to make up their mind so that they can have a guaranteed job when they get back.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's an
But
issue
they also have to come up with they can't just put their mother in the nursing home and say, hey, I got to go there.
No, that is for sure. Now, looking at other qualifying conditions, though, a person who is, it's called incapacitated, I think is the phrase.
Yeah.
You can take 12 weeks off, even though that individual, quote, has no need for active treatment. Is that correct?
Say that again.
You can take 12 weeks of paid leave if a person is incapacitated who is related to you, even where there's no, even where that person is, quote, not receiving active treatment. That seems a pretty broad provision, isn't it?
So people, well, it could be Alzheimer's, someone who is going into Alzheimer's, and they're going because you begin to notice it early. So maybe they would take it to go out and check with the doctors and do the things that they have to do and then come back.
Now, I see that this very clearly says that if you've accrued any benefits and you take your paid family leave, you don't lose any of your accrued benefits, correct?
Right.
So many employers, in fact, I would say it's probably typical, have a vacation policy where you use it or lose it because they want the employees to take vacation.
Yeah.
And that's, by the way, similar to my private employment. You get 2 or 3 weeks of vacation. You got to use it within the calendar year, you lose it. So am I correct then that if an individual takes paid family leave in the last 12 weeks of the year and had 3 weeks of vacation that they hadn't yet used, they can carry it over, and they'll be the only employee in the company who then gets 6 weeks of vacation the next year?
No.
So they can't carry it over?
They're two separate issues. We're not changing any of the policies that the jobs have their own programs, and they are what they're going to continue to do, and this is just going to fit on top of it.
Well, so then you can lose accrued benefits while taking paid family leave?
If you ask for the leave at the same time, yes, you might lose it.
Okay, well, we might want to look at how that...
You'll be making a mistake. That would not be this law.
I would absolutely agree with your assessment, although I think the language of this bill doesn't provide for that common sense approach that you just outlined. It says you don't lose any accrued...
No. One thing I've learned, people, when you deal with things like this, get very intelligent very quickly.
Yes, for me, it's a slower process usually.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm correct, the paid family leave is in addition to the leave that you might already have under existing disability.
Yeah.
So if a person leaves, for example, on paternity leave, they'd get 6 weeks automatically now under current disability. Plus, they get another up to 12 weeks under this when it's fully implemented. Plus, they could use whatever vacation time they have accrued and maybe or maybe not carried over.
Right. Well, what you're saying is I'm going to have a vacation, so I take my 3 weeks vacation, and simultaneously I ask for to be allowed to take the time out, and so I'll be getting double paid. I don't think
No,
so.
not double pay.
What I just
take
said,
the
if you
first
put it on top of it.
No, you take the first 6 weeks of the normal disability,
Yeah.
then you take 12 weeks of paid leave, that's
Yeah.
18 weeks, then you take 2 or 3 weeks of vacation after that. An employee could be out 4 or 5, maybe even 6 months, am I right?
Yes, that's possible.
And during that time, the employer is required to maintain the health insurance for the employee who's not working.
Yes.
And if the employee is a seasonal employee, has a number of, has requisite qualifications.
But
They
everything
could be
you've
gone
said-
for the entire semester, for example, if they're a teacher, or the entire work season if it's a summer employee.
Say that again.
They could be gone the entire summer season. For example, if it's a restaurant or a hotel, they could be gone the entire busy season, right? While you're paying their health
If they
insurance.
take their vacation, and you have to see how the office, you don't just take your vacations. I know the people in my office, sometime in January, we start picking out who's going to leave where, when, and what. So, and I assume other people do that. So you know 6 months, 2 years in advance what your vacation is going to be. And I think putting that together and doing the things you said, I think they would have the ability to say, you can't do this because you're doing this.